Thank you everybody so much for joining my webinar today. I actually did just start the recording, so for any of you who can't attend the whole webinar or would like to watch it at a later time or pass it on to somebody on your team, I will definitely send a follow-up email right after the webinar ends with this recorded session. So again, thank you all so much for joining me today. My name is Erica, and we can expect this webinar to last probably about 30 minutes, depending on how the Q&A goes at the very end. The first 15 to 20 or so minutes is going to be me walking you all through a quick presentation first and foremost, and then actually a live demo of the application. And then, like I said, at the very end, I'd like to actually open up the floor, kind of have a discussion with you all, hear how you're using Priority Matrix, and answer any questions that you might have about the system. So with all of that being said, again, I thank you all so much for your time today. I'm going to do my best to kind of keep this short and to the point. But with that being said, let me go ahead and share my screen with you all. If for whatever reason you're not able to see my screen or you can't hear me, please, please, please let me know. I think we should be good to go. Just going to make sure I have my headphones connected. All right, and then it is intentional that you are all muted, but like I said, at the very end, I can actually take everybody off mute and we will be able to communicate and kind of chit chat about the presentation today. So at this point, you should all be able to see my screen and hopefully you can all hear me okay. So let's go ahead and get started with today's webinar. So the topic for today is creating quiet time in a world of noise, creating productive work habits with Priority Matrix. So whether you're working from home or in the office, or maybe you have that cool hybrid mix of kind of going back and forth, there are bound to be workplace distractions. Some of those distractions can look like cell phone notifications and internet browsing, meetings, context switching, and looking through your emails. With all of these different distractions kind of coming in left and right all throughout the day, it can definitely be hard to, kind of focus on those top priorities and really focus on what matters the most. I can definitely admit that I'm guilty of this. If I leave my priority matrix and start reading, an article about sales or, whatever it might be, it's definitely hard to stay on topic, without browsing the web or picking up my phone or something. So, I'm sure a lot of us on this meeting today can relate that when you're able just to work in one central space, seeing everything you need, including meetings and emails and your priorities, those distractions can definitely be silenced. But that's not an easy thing to achieve without a system like Priority Matrix that does help you get everything in one place. So that's kind of what we're going to look at today is hopefully sidebarring all these workplace distractions so we can all work on really what matters the most. Hopefully, Priority Matrix is going to help you take control of your day. This is going to be, a little bit of what we look at today, which is turning off those unnecessary notifications. For those of you who love the Priority Matrix mobile app as much as I do, the notifications are incredible. If you're away from the desk or, using Priority Matrix primarily on your phone, I love those notifications, but there's definitely a time and place when they just need to be silenced, they need to be turned off, and that's definitely something you're able to do. Priority Matrix is going to help you switch context less often by getting everything into one place. It's also going to help you block off your day. So when you want to either work on those top priorities or kind of work on those smaller tasks, Priority Matrix is going to show you exactly how to approach that. And with all of this being said, whether it's a huge project you're working on or emails or miscellaneous tasks here and there, I'm going to help you understand how to focus on your top priorities and how Priority Matrix will support you with all of that. So I've been doing a little bit of research and I've actually had the opportunity to talk to a couple different kind of productivity coaches and learn the two common trends as to how people typically like to structure their working hours. So, the most common approach is to start the day with something small and light, and then use that momentum to tackle larger tasks. The other option that people like to do is what it's kind of a funny term, but it's considered eating the frog. And what we mean by that is starting the day with your largest, biggest tasks, making sure you get one very important thing done each day, and then save the smaller tasks for the end of the day because they may be less important. And if they drift into the next day, it's not going to be the end of the world. For me personally, I kind of go back and forth on this just depending on the day. During the middle of the week, I would say are my most productive days, and I like to actually start the day with some of the larger things, planning my webinars, having those long meetings with the clients that I've been working with for a long duration of time. Whatever that looks like. Again, sometimes I like to start the day doing that, but I can also definitely relate to starting with smaller things, start off light, and then kind of getting into the groove and working throughout the day after that. So again, these are just kind of two common ways that people structure their days. At the very end, I would love to kind of hear your feedback and see how do you all like to structure your days, and how are you the most productive? With that being said, if you are kind of the type of person that likes to have your whole day planned out, so maybe at the start of the day, you do want to tackle those larger projects and tasks. When you use priority matrix, there's also a technique called time boxing, which basically allows you to plan 15 to 25 minutes of focus, and then also ensuring that you get to take a 5 to 10 minute break between those focus times. I know for me, sitting behind a computer or even standing sometimes, it can get exhausting. It strains the eyes. It might not be the most comfortable way to work. And so I really do place such a big emphasis on taking those breaks, whether it's just walking around your house, getting a cup of water, petting your dogs, or, stepping outside for some fresh air. I think those breaks really make at least my day way more effective. And so I definitely love the structure of kind of time boxing, focusing really hard and then taking those nice breaks in between. Priority matrix is going to help you see your top priorities without those distractions. Again, we're going to help you easily understand your top priorities. You can see your emails and your meetings and your priorities in one place. You'll be able to tune out the extra noise. And with Priority Matrix Agenda, you're going to be able to see exactly what's next up for the day and the week without having to shuffle through all of those platforms or stress out about forgetting about an email or something like that. So next up, we're going to get into the priority matrix demo, but I want to kind of give you just a short little agenda or heads up about what we're going to be focusing on for probably the next 10 minutes or so. And then, like I said, we'll open it up for that discussion and any questions that you might have. So I'm going to show you how you can use kind of time blocking to your advantage to really set up your schedule ahead of time. And I'm also going to show you what those reminders and notifications will look like when it's time to kind of switch gears and, how Priority Matrix will remind you about that. We're going to see the Priority Matrix to-do list, which again is kind of that agenda that I mentioned. And most importantly, in my opinion, is how to see everything in one place. And in order to accomplish that, we're going to look at the Outlook integration, a Chrome integration, and the Teams integration primarily. And with those three different integrations with Priority Matrix, you really are able to get everything into one place. In other words, less context switching and less distractions kind of flying in from left field throughout the day. With all of that being said, it's now time to switch gears into the priority matrix demo. So again, thank you all for hanging in for kind of that quick introduction to kind of lay the groundwork for what we're looking at today. But, for most of you, looking at the live demo is probably what brought you here today. So let's go ahead and jump into that. So for those of you who may actually be brand new to priority matrix, I want to kind of lay the foundation of exactly what we're looking at right here. So on the left-hand side of my screen, I have priority matrix pinned open here. And again, for those of you who may not have seen this screen before, I want to point out that this is my priority matrix integrated directly into the Teams platform. So we have like the chats, channels, calendar, all the regular Teams things, and then Priority Matrix is pinned open. You don't have to use Priority Matrix through Microsoft Teams, but kind of going along with that theme of getting everything into one place, if you do have access to the Teams environment, I would most definitely say get started here. With that being said, we do have the desktop application, which I've got down here, and the mobile app, as well as a web application. So there's definitely a couple places you can use it, again, if you're not comfortable in the Teams ecosystem. So what are we looking at in the middle of my screen? These are called projects. And for those of you who are maybe individual contributors or don't really have set in stone projects specifically that you have to work on, I don't want to scare you away with that terminology, because you can also think of projects as just kind of a central space where you're able to group all of your similar tasks and priorities together. So don't be scared of the word projects. I know for me, like when I think about using Priority Matrix, I'm definitely not using it in the typical project management way. I use it as just a space to create kind of a central location for similar priorities. All right, so the first thing I want to look at today in terms of the projects that I have laid out today are, first and foremost, the importance of getting your emails prioritized into Priority Matrix. So I opened up this important emails project, and for those of you who are brand new to Priority Matrix, I always suggest that first and foremost creating a space or project to track those important emails. You can rename these quadrants, which is definitely a best practice that I like to point out to everybody. So when you do open up this project and you're ready to tackle your emails, it's in a language that makes sense to you in terms of getting back to those people or taking action on the emails. So then the question is, all right, well, how do I actually integrate my emails to get everything into one space? You're going to be able to use the Priority Matrix and Outlook integration, which for a lot of our users is, if not the most like heavy usage for them, it's definitely up there with why people are attracted to Priority Matrix. So what you're going to be able to do is open up that email, and you can use the Priority Matrix integration to get these emails into that project that you've set up for important emails. So I'm actually going to rename this and call it email for webinar, just so we can find it together really easily. Prioritize it into the correct quadrant. We'll put it into quadrant 3 just for today, and you can pick your due date. So again, when it comes to working on what's most important today, I scheduled this email to be due a week out from today. So, in other words, it's probably not super urgent, and my priority matrix is going to help me understand what my top priorities are for the day and for the week. So I always suggest starting the day with maybe spending 20 minutes in your inbox, taking a look through everything that's unread, and prioritize them into your priority matrix projects. So here's the email that I just integrated. We can open it up, and in the notes, you're going to see the whole entire body of this email. You have your deadline set, and any files that were attached will also be uploaded here. So now what's really special about this is when I'm ready to handle my emails, again, I don't have to get distracted by going to my inbox, seeing other emails that may have come in through the day. I can say, hey, here's everything I need to get done first. And then if I have extra time, maybe I do circle back to my inbox, but this is everything that's top of mind right now. A little side note as well, kind of going off topic, but again, a best practice that I like people to understand, and probably a question that will come up later on, is you don't always have to create a brand new action item from these emails. You can also attach the email to a task that you already have, saving you kind of the problem of having duplicated tasks. Just go ahead and keep attaching it to the similar space you already have created. Questions about this, please write them down, and I would love to answer them for you at the end, because I know, again, that this is a really big use case for probably a lot of us on the call today. All right, so that's kind of best practice number 1, is it first and foremost making sure you get your important emails into Priority Matrix. In just a few minutes, I'm going to show you a view that kind of sums everything up into one agenda for you, which is probably on a question that's top of mind right now. So I just want to say that view is coming, but there's two other things I want to show you before that. So going along with the theme of the importance of getting everything into one place to avoid outside distractions coming in, I also want to quickly show you how you can use one of our best integrations we have, which is actually the Chrome integration. So people use the Chrome extension for all sorts of things. For me, I'm constantly browsing the internet, trying to improve our sales process, our customer success tactics so we can best serve you all. And there's a lot out there online, a lot of suggestions, a lot of resources. And so, Friday afternoon, if I'm kind of browsing the web and I find a lot of articles that I may not have time to read right now, but I do want to circle back to, again, create that project for articles or resources that you want to keep track of. And now I'm bringing over this Chrome web page, just a miscellaneous sales article that I may want to read later on. So when you install the Chrome extension, it's going to show up right here, just like this. And it's honestly so easy. You can just click on it. You'll say create new item. You can choose the project you want to prioritize it into, rename the article if you want to. If you need to delegate this to somebody on your team, you can also do that. For me, I'm going to choose the account that I have opened right now. I'm going to just put it in my inbox, but I have a couple examples to show you. And then basically you just say send to priority matrix. So again, you can just very quickly grab all these articles that might be important for you to review, put them into your priority matrix, and now you have them stored to read whenever you're ready. I've put due dates on this example just because, these resources may be super important for me to review, even if I don't have time to do it right now. Again, priority matrix is going to remind me when I need to circle back and review those resources. So at this point, we have our important emails prioritized. We have our articles and resources prioritized. So we're really getting to that point where hopefully everything important is in priority matrix. And next up, I want to show you kind of that concept of time blocking. So again, for those of you who really like to have a structured day to day, but may not have the best system to do that right now, again, you can definitely copy this concept, which is my project called This Week's Working Hours. So what I've done here is I've created a couple tasks, and I'm going to show you something really cool in a minute, but these tasks can represent what you need to work on, maybe just today, or maybe for the week, you kind of want to have a recurring schedule. Again, time blocking, setting yourself up to work on the most important things during your most important, or rather most productive working hours. So what I've done and what I suggest you all do is kind of break down your day to represent everything that you want to work on. This task that I just opened, miscellaneous tasks, for example, is set for 4 to 5 p.m. So the last hour of my day, kind of tying up loose ends. For me, I like to do that every single day. So this is what I wanted to show you is that you can set this kind of schedule to be recurring. I have it set for weekdays. So I'm going to bounce over to the calendar view just to show you how clearly my day is blocked off now. So if I'm ever feeling off track or I don't know what I need to work on, what should I be doing right now? I can jump to my calendar. I have everything really clearly blocked off now. So what I wanted to show you, which is a really neat trick for these recurring tasks, is if I mark this as completed, you'll see it's now gone. I've finished it for the day. We're good to go. It's not going to show up on my to-do list for today anymore. But you'll now see that it actually popped back up and it's due for tomorrow. So again, I just want to show you really quickly when I get back to my calendar view. Now, maybe we'll go to the week view just to see it a little bit more clearly. I'm already preparing my day for tomorrow as I finish off what I want to work on today. If I need to change this and maybe I need to, and I know that I have a really big workload for tomorrow for emails, I can change this to reply to emails. And again, I already have my day up and running for tomorrow before I even finish off today. So that's a really special kind of feature and tactic to keep in mind. Two other projects that I have here are kind of my daily goals or the weekly to-do list template, which again can kind of incorporate those miscellaneous tasks that you may either need to work on as an individual or with your team. So the last thing I'm going to show you all, and then we'll open it up for that discussion where I'd love to hear your thoughts and your feedback about all of this. But or rather two more views here, but they kind of come hand in hand. So as I mentioned, notifications can either be super helpful or they can really get on your last nerve. And I kind of laugh when I say that because I feel very strongly about how helpful alerts and notifications can be. But I also can definitely, have my fair share of annoyance when I just need to focus and I don't want everything kind of jumping in at me. The alerts through the Teams platform are very subtle, yet very helpful. So when I have a due date that occurs, or in terms of working with my team, and any updates from them all come into the alert section where I can kind of click through it at my convenience to see what has become due. If you're looking for notifications that are a little bit more kind of noticeable or, popping up whenever they happen, when you're using the desktop application like I have down here, I'll show it really quickly. These are going to be more of your push notifications. So it's kind of an interesting concept that I like to share with people, which is a lot of times people say, well, I love to use the Teams integration, but I want these notifications to be a little bit more in my face. So you can actually run the desktop version in the background. And when something happens, a little push notification will pop up on the side. Again, you can also have it running on your phone, and that's going to give you mobile notifications. All right, so lastly, and one of the most important things, in my opinion, to kind of tie everything together, and then we're going to turn the microphone over to the audience here, but the priority matrix agenda. This is so, so, so helpful for those of you who just simply want a little bit of guidance on what do I need to be working on right now and what do I have coming up for my week. So agenda is going to take into account all those great projects that you've set up for yourself. And then it's going to say, okay, Erica, here's everything that you have scheduled to be due today, tomorrow, the next day, and the next 7 days are completely broken down for you. So here's emails that I need to get back to today, my time blocking that I've already scheduled, and it's also showing me meetings. Here's the webinar that we're in today. And for all of you consultants out there, definitely hop on the webinar later today. It's specifically designed for that kind of job, basically. So again, if I was ever not sure what I need to work on today, Agenda has my back. It's going to show me what I need to get done today based off of my deadlines that I've set for myself. All right, so jumping back to my short little presentation here, key takeaways. The priority matrix integrations are going to be very critical to help you get everything in one place, where you will then be able to see all of your priorities with less context switching. Again, I want to emphasize that although I showed priority matrix through the Teams integration today, you can use priority matrix on all platforms or just stick to one that you feel most comfortable working on, whatever is best for you. All right, so what I would like to do now is I'm going to make the screen a little bit smaller, and let's see. I would like to open up this discussion for either a Q&A or here's a couple prompted questions that I would really, really love to hear your feedback, which is what distractions affect you the most on a day-to-day? And with that being said, which aspects of priority matrix are helping you stay on track? Or if you're new to using priority matrix, what do you think is going to be super helpful for you? So I'm looking at the participant list here. And for any of you who have questions or would like to, again, kind of help me open up this discussion and just share a little bit more about your use case, go ahead and raise your hand and I can actually take you off mute and we can kind of begin to talk together. While I wait for more questions to come up, I did see a question come up in the chat, which was, I'm unable to sync my priority matrix to Teams. Any recommendations? So let's see. Evangelina, I'm not sure I completely understand your question. It could kind of go one of two ways, which was you're not able to get priority matrix into your team's application. If that's what you mean, I'm kind of curious if it's because of security blocking it. Maybe you need to get it approved by your IT department, or you just simply can't get it in there. If that's the case, I would definitely suggest starting with a web application. Let's see. Okay, so you just reached out to your IT. Perfect. I'm going to follow up with you personally right after this webinar and send you a link to our security certification. I bet you if you show that to IT, they'll be able to approve priority matrix without any questions. We have a ton of security backing our application, which sometimes is the biggest holdup on the IT side. So look out for my email. I'll follow up with you personally so we can kind of be in touch to work through that together. Other common questions that I typically get include people wondering if we have a trial period for you all. Yes, we definitely do. It's 2 weeks where you're able to really get in there and test out priority matrix without any limitations. You can also use it with your team as well. Angie, looks like you have a question. So what I'm going to do is I just took you off mute. And so now you can actually unmute yourself on your side, and then I should be able to hear you.
Complete hours. Okay, it wasn't so much a question as more discussion on what affects you the most as far as distractions. I would think for me, it's cell phones.
Cell phones, yes, absolutely.
And what do you do about them without turning them off?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can 100% agree with you. I think for me, that's also the biggest distraction. I'm all for turning my cell phone off. However, in the back of my mind, what kind of lingers with me is, well, what if there's an emergency or, something happens? I like to have my phone on just in case, but yes, those distractions are definitely very present every single day.
Okay. Does anybody know of any kind of app that can help, maybe defer those calls that you really don't need, or, I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, that would definitely be an interesting concept and say, maybe this list of people, their phone calls can get through, but everything else has to be muted or something. That would be super helpful.
Just because I want to make sure that there's no board actions, because that's
awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing those thoughts, Angie. That's I'm sure I can relate to that, and I'm sure everybody else on this webinar definitely can relate to cell phones being the biggest distraction for sure.
So I'll respond to you here in an email here in a minute once I verify her license, and then
all right. Let's see. Any other questions before I start losing people here? I want to first and foremost remind you that I'm going to be sending a follow-up email with a link to my upcoming webinars. They're a little bit on kind of the far and few between end right now, just because we're coming to the end of the month, but I do have all my previously recorded webinars linked there as well, and I'm going to be booking out a ton more for March and the end of February. So be sure to check out that link, register for anything that catches your eye. And with that being said, any questions or feedback, most importantly, on what you liked about this webinar and maybe what I can do better to improve it, I would love to hear your honest thoughts there. When I send you my follow-up email, if you respond, that's only going to come back to me personally. So again, I would love to hear your thoughts and your questions. If we are all set here, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.